I also work on a full-time job. And they're like, you're fighting for world championship, you shouldn't be working. I was like, now I made, what, $14,000.
Imagine being the greatest fighter on the planet. Pound for pound #1, UFC champion. Defending your title over and over and over again. Breaking records that even Anderson Silva couldn't touch. Now imagine waking up at 6 a.m. the day after your championship fight. Not to celebrate, not to enjoy your victory, but to clock in at a warehouse job, lifting 150-pound tubes, operating forklifts, making $14,000, while other guys are making millions. This is the insane true story of Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson, the most disrespected champion in UFC history, the man who worked construction while defending his title, the fighter who made less money than CM Punk's second fight in the UFC. Today, we're exposing the dark reality behind one of the greatest careers in MMA, the poverty wages, the warehouse job, the broken leg that couldn't stop him from clocking in Monday morning, and the UFC's shameful treatment of a living legend. This isn't a feel-good underdog story. This is about a fighter getting robbed. This is about the UFC's greed. And this is about how the greatest flyweight of all time had to choose between fighting and survival. Get ready, because this story will make you angry. Let's start with the number that will blow your mind. When Demetrious Johnson fought Dominic Cruz for the UFC bantamweight title in 2011, do you know how much he made? $14,000. $14,000 for a title fight on national television against one of the best fighters in the world. He made $14,000 to show and $14,000 to win. He lost that fight, so he walked away with 14 grand. But here's what makes it even more insane. DJ recently revealed this on his Twitch stream, and he laid out his entire payment history fight by fight, and it's heartbreaking. After the Cruz fight, he fought Ian McCall in Australia. Same contract, still $14,000. Then he got a rematch with McCall for the UFC's inaugural flyweight championship. You know what his raise was? They bumped him to $20,000 to become the first ever flyweight champion in UFC history. Then he defended against Joseph Benavidez. $20,000. Same pay. Against John Dodson, $23,000. Against John Moraga, $26,000. Against Joseph Benavidez, again, $30,000. Do you see the pattern here? Demetrious Johnson is defending the UFC title, beating everyone they put in front of him. And he's getting tiny raises, like a guy getting a cost of living adjustment at a regular job. But here's where it gets disgusting. DJ finally got a real contract as champion. You know what it was? $125,000 to show, $50,000 to win. Sounds decent, right? Wrong. Because that contract had no PPV points. Let that sink in. No pay-per-view points. The thing that makes champions rich. The thing that turned guys like Conor McGregor into 100 millionaires. DJ never got it. He explains it himself. If you get on a card with Conor McGregor and he does 2.1 million buys, you just do the math. You're going to make a shitload of money. I never got the opportunity to do that. Never. The UFC refused to give their flyweight champion PPV points. Meanwhile, CM Punk, a WWE wrestler making his second fight in the UFC, was making $500,000. DJ was on his 7th or 8th title defense. Punk was 0-1 in MMA, and Punk made more money. That's when the chip on DJ's shoulder formed. And honestly, can you blame him? But the money situation gets even crazier when you understand what DJ was doing during his championship run. He was working a full-time job, not a cushy endorsement gig, not a coaching side hustle, a real job in a warehouse, doing manual labor. DJ worked at Corral Star Warehouse in Tacoma, Washington. His job? Cutting paper tubes into smaller pieces, boxing them, throwing them on pallets, wrapping them, operating a forklift, loading trucks. If you've ever seen the cardboard tube at the end of a toilet paper roll, imagine massive versions of those for construction and concrete. DJ was the guy chopping those up all day. And here's his schedule. This is real. This is what a UFC champion was doing. Wake up at 6 a.m., sometimes 5 a.m. depending on the shift. Get to work by 7 a.m. Work until 3 p.m. 2 15-minute breaks. That's it. Leave work at 3. Drive to the gym. Do CrossFit conditioning. Then drive to his fight gym. Train from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Get home at 8 p.m. Eat dinner with his wife. Go to bed. Repeat every single day. And this wasn't just when he was coming up. This was during his UFC championship reign. This was when he was fighting Ian McCall, Miguel Torres, Brad Pickett. Top-level competition. His coach Matt Hume would beg him to quit the job. You need to train full-time like a professional athlete. But DJ couldn't afford to quit. And you know what the craziest part is? His warehouse boss was the one telling him the same thing. His boss told him, "I'll fire you if you pick this job over fighting." But DJ kept showing up because he had a family, because the UFC wasn't paying him enough, because he needed security. Even after he won the title, even after he started defending it, he kept that job for a while because he knew fighting doesn't last forever. And he knew the UFC could cut him at any moment. And the UFC knew this. Dana White knew DJ was working in a warehouse. They knew he was struggling. And they still refused to pay him fairly. Now, let me tell you a story that will make your blood boil. May 28, 2011. DJ fights Miguel Torres, a legend, a former WEC champion. It's a tough, competitive fight. DJ wins by decision. It's the biggest win of his career at that point. Sounds great, right? Time to celebrate? Wrong. During the fight, DJ breaks his leg. Not a small injury. A legitimate broken leg that most people would need weeks to recover from. Sunday, he flies home, gets back to Washington. And you know what he does Monday morning? He goes to work. 6 a.m. Monday morning, with a broken leg. He's back in the warehouse because he couldn't afford to take time off. Because the UFC didn't pay him enough to miss work. Because that's what poverty does to people. Even UFC champions. Let that image sink into your brain. The man who just beat a legend in the UFC. The man who's on his way to becoming a champion. He's limping into a warehouse at 6 a.m. to lift heavy boxes. Because he made $20,000 for breaking his leg in a cage fight. And the UFC? They didn't care. They weren't offering to cover his medical bills long term. They weren't giving him a bonus for toughness. They weren't thinking, hey, maybe we should pay this incredible fighter more so he doesn't have to work in a warehouse with a broken leg. Nothing. DJ tells this story without bitterness. He's humble. He's grateful. He says he had a great boss who understood. But that's not the point. The point is that the UFC, a company worth billions, was letting their future champion work manual labor with broken bones because they were too cheap to pay him a living wage. Fast forward a few years. DJ is now the dominant flyweight champion. He's defended his title 8 times. He's breaking records. He's doing things nobody else can do. The UFC comes to him with an idea, a super fight against TJ Dillashaw, the bantamweight champion at the time. Moving up in weight, big money fight, right? Wrong. DJ tells the story. When they tried to stiff-arm me to fight TJ Dillashaw, I was like, pay me $1 million and I'll do it. This is a super fight. Let's make some super money. The UFC's response? No. They refused to pay him $1 million for a super fight. They wanted him to take the fight for his regular purse. Maybe a small bump, but nothing close to what a super fight should pay. DJ pushed back. And you know what happened? The UFC and the media crucified him. They called him scared. They said he was ducking TJ. They acted like he was the problem. But DJ wasn't scared. He was asking for fair pay. He was asking for what every other champion gets when they take a super fight. He was asking to be treated with respect. And the UFC said no. Think about that. Conor McGregor makes $10 million to fight Floyd Mayweather, and the UFC supports it. Georges St-Pierre comes back to fight Michael Bisping, makes millions, and the UFC celebrates it. But Demetrious Johnson, the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world at the time, asks for $1 million for a super fight, and they say no. The disrespect was unreal. And this is why DJ had that chip on his shoulder he talks about, because he was better than almost everyone in the UFC. But he was being treated like he was worthless. So here's the question. Why did the UFC treat DJ like this? The answer is simple and brutal. Because he wasn't a big draw. DJ was never a trash talker. He wasn't controversial. He wasn't starting fights at press conferences or throwing dollies at buses. He was humble, respectful. He just wanted to fight and go home to his family. And because of that, because he didn't play the game the way Conor did, the UFC decided he wasn't worth paying. The flyweight division also didn't have the history of other divisions. It was new. The fighters were small, and casual fans didn't connect with 125-pound fighters the way they did with heavyweights. But here's the thing. That's not DJ's fault. That's not his problem. That's the UFC's job to market their champions, to build stars, to make fans care. Instead, they buried DJ. They put him on fight night cards instead of PPVs. They didn't promote him. They didn't give him the spotlight. And then they blamed him for not being a draw. It's like if you opened a restaurant, never advertised it, and then complained that nobody came to eat. And DJ just kept winning, kept dominating, kept being the best. And the UFC kept underpaying him. So what's the end of this story? In 2018, after losing to Henry Cejudo in a razor-close split decision, DJ was traded to one championship. The UFC literally traded him for Ben Askren, like he was a baseball card. And you know what happened? One championship gave him an 8-figure contract. They paid him $750,000 per fight as a base. They gave him sponsorship money. They respected him. And DJ went on to become one championship's flyweight champion. He's still dominant. He's still one of the best in the world. Meanwhile, the UFC shut down the flyweight division shortly after he left. They basically admitted the division didn't work without him. But here's the legacy of Demetrious Johnson. 11 consecutive title defenses. More than John Jones in a single reign. Pound for pound #1. One of the greatest to ever do it. And he did it while working in a warehouse. While making poverty wages. While being disrespected by the company he made history for. So when people talk about fighter pay, when people talk about the UFC exploiting athletes, when people talk about how broken the system is, remember Demetrious Johnson. Remember the champion who had to choose between surgery recovery and his warehouse job. Remember the GOAT who made less than CM Punk. Because DJ's story isn't just sad. It's proof that the UFC doesn't care about greatness. They care about money. And if you don't bring in PPV buys, they'll treat you like you're worthless, even if you're the best fighter on earth. Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson. The warehouse warrior. The underpaid king. The greatest flyweight of all time. And the UFC should be ashamed of how they treated him.